PM for the Masses podcast, episode 1.
Project managers, have you ever felt like you should get that promotion or a better job? Start a business, write that book. Have you ever felt you were made for more but didn't know where to start?
Welcome to the PM for the Masses podcast with your host, Caesar Abaid.
Learn from the experts, think outside the box, have a voice, network, and be extraordinary.
PM for the Masses podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 1 of the PM for the Masses podcast. I am again super excited to be starting this project, and believe me, if I had a storefront for this podcast, right now I'd be opening the doors and rolling out a red carpet to the curb and welcoming each and every one of you with a big smile on my face and, I don't know, maybe a cold glass of lemonade or something. I really want to make this show about you, about us, about project managers. This is not necessarily going to be a show about project management, but about the person of the project manager. And as we go forward with each episode, I will be challenging you to think a bit differently, to take steps to accomplish more, and to take actions. Okay? The founder of Southwest Airlines, Herb Keheller, said, "Dreamers have hopes, hustlers have actions." Okay, so it's going to take work, and I will be challenging you to do things. Okay, there's a lot of books, a lot of podcasts, a lot of blogs out there that are inspirational, that are helpful in different ways, and I hope that this is helpful as well, but I want to provide you with actionable items that you can actually do and see results. Okay. Now, that's the main reason why I invited Mr. Peter Taylor to be my first guest on the show today. Peter is the author of the super popular book, The Lazy Project Manager, among others. And he's an expert in teaching project managers to accomplish more by doing less, or put it in another way, by accomplishing the right things by working smarter. And the only way we can move forward is by focusing on the right actions. And Peter has truly walked the walk. The guy is really an overachiever, if you look at all the stuff that he has done. And yet he's always in I've talked to him a few times. He's always in a peaceful state of mind. It always sounds like he's just relaxing, and he's always ready to respond at the right time. He replies to emails real quick. So I really look up to Peter Taylor and as not only as because of the knowledge that he has, but because of the things that he can accomplish without, losing his mind. All right. So now, I'm going to be asking him about that. But besides that, I'm also going to be asking him questions on the steps that he took to become the successful public speaker, the successful project manager, and the successful author that he is today. And maybe we can borrow some of his ideas into our own lives, into our own careers. All right, so Peter Taylor is the author of 2 best-selling books on productive laziness, The Lazy Project Manager and The Lazy Winner. In the last 3 years, he has focused on writing and lecturing with over 200 presentations around the world in over 20 countries, and with new books out, including The Lazy Project Manager and The Project from Hell, Strategies for Project Sponsorship, Leading Successful PMOs, and the 36 Stratagems, a modern interpretation of a strategy classic, with a number of other projects currently underway. And we'll talk about that during the interview as well. He has been described as perhaps the most entertaining and inspiring speaker in the project management world today. And he also acts as an independent consultant working with some of the major organizations in the world, coaching executive sponsors, PMO leaders, and project managers. His mission is to teach as many people as possible that it is achievable to work smarter and not harder, and to still gain success in the battle of the work-life balance. This is perfect for the show. Peter Taylor spoke with me from his large, oversized, comfy chair in his home in the UK. Enjoy the interview.
Special guest coming up next. PMforthemasses.com. PMforthemasses.com.
Hello, Peter Taylor. How are you?
I'm very, very good. Thank you.
You are the first guest on the show, and we were just talking before I pressed the record button here that you are the perfect guest to set the pace for the show for so many reasons, and the audience will get the gist of it as we go forward here. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. The sun is shining finally, and I'm at home, so I'm being lazy, and I'm in my comfy chair, which is the place I love to be.
I know that's. I appreciate you actually getting out of bed to come and talk to me today. Tell us a little bit about the art of laziness, and because when people say the lazy project manager, it just sounds a little bad, So explain to us, what is the art of laziness?
Well, yeah, I mean, it is a little bit tongue-in-cheek. It is meant to get people thinking about it, and it's proved very popular. But the art of laziness, I think it's not just laziness. It's, I combine the concept of productiveness with laziness. So it's the art of productive laziness. In essence, it's about working smarter and not harder. It's finding the most efficient way to do something whilst still delivering, whilst still being part of the project team, or it applies to anything really. So you don't upset people, you don't ignore work, you don't avoid work, but you just think about what you're doing, and you apply that sort of combination of intelligence and an aptitude for doing things the most efficient, simple, lazy way, and from that you get the art of productive laziness.
Mm-hmm. Now, I've listened to you speak before, and you talk about the people who actually make progress. Are they is it the hardworking people, or what is it? What is the profile of the people who actually make progress in this world?
Well, yeah, the quote I like is there's a Robert Heinlein quote, the science fiction writer, and he talks about the progress isn't made by early risers, it's made by lazy men trying to find easier ways to do something. And that's kind of the essence. When I started working on this sort of concept of productive laziness, I came across that quote and I thought, yes, that's it. That just summed it up. It is that combination of laziness and intelligence. You can be very efficient, you can be very successful, and but you can put a whole lot of hours in as well. I mean, a lot of this comes from the period of time when I was running a large PMO. I had a lot of project managers working for me, and I could just see that, if you like, everybody was being generally successful, but half the group were being successful, and they were doing it by working long, hard hours, 50, 60, 70-hour weeks. But there was another group, the other half, that were doing this in a more productive way. They were doing just a normal working week and delivering the same sort of success. And it's a matter of trying to track the behavioral differences between those two groups.
Mm-hmm. And that makes a lot of sense, because we everybody's so busy these days. But that doesn't mean that they're actually moving forward or changing anything.
Absolutely. I mean, activity doesn't necessarily mean achievement at all. No.
Very good. So, what is the what is the secret there in order to be more productive while at the same time working less?
Well, I think one of the keys to it is exactly that you kind of extricate yourself from that busy state of mind. We all have to-do lists. We all have, things we need to focus on, etc. And we go into the office and you get invited to meetings and the phone goes and your boss talks to you and, the emails coming in constantly 24/7. It's very easy to just get carried along with that wave of activity. The part of the key to this is to, the good old Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. Mm-hmm. It is the application of that. It is, out of everything I have to do, all of these things are not equally important. There are some things that are far more important than others. So what are they? And effectively, 20% of what you do delivers 80% of the benefit of the return on investment, the moving the project forward or the task forward or anything like that. It is stepping back and giving yourself just a few moments to think about this. I encourage people to do it on the way to work, the night before, the first 5 minutes with that first cup of coffee in the morning. Just think about, well, I'm going to do this today, but what's really important? What's the most important thing? What's going to have the most impact? What makes up that 20% that's going to deliver the 80%? And focus on that first. Once you've done that, then reevaluate the list you've now got and do the next 20% effectively, and just keep going that way. But you can't do it if you're just constantly riding the wave of activity.
Right. One of the things I love your material is that you blur the lines between the personal life and the actual professional life in the office. This is something that I do, which is to get up in the morning and actually spend maybe 15 minutes looking at all the projects at hand for that day and say, oh, where am I going to spend my time today? And when the days, by all means, I don't do this every day. I mean, I'm not perfect. But the days that I do that, my state of mind, I know what to expect. I know what's coming. I know what I'm supposed to do at every hour of the day. It just helps so much, and I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing at that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, one of the great things about my life these days as a sort of professional speaker, author, workshop leader, all those sort of things is there's an awful lot going on all the time. And I just need to do that, refiltering every now and then. So that, I respond to the people I need to respond to. I don't disappoint people. I make sure I've got the right amount of time to invest in developing material for that next presentation or next workshop. So I'm doing a good professional job, and people want more from me after that. But, I have to do that. I have to do that, stepping back and considering and filtering and prioritizing.
Very good. Now, back to projects. You tell us a little bit about the Brontosaurus analogy that you use. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, well, the Brontosaurus. So I'm a Monty Python fan, and if anybody doesn't know the Brontosaurus theory of Miss Anne Elk, they can go and check it out on YouTube or on my website as well. There's this joke, this sketch that takes place where it's all around a theory of what a Brontosaurus looks like, and the joke is at the end of it is that a Brontosaurus is thin at one end, much thicker in the middle, and thin again at the far end. And I looked at that and thought, projects are often run that way, but you know what? Projects really shouldn't be that way from a productive, lazy project manager's point of view. So I counter argue that actually the project should be thick at one end, much thinner in the middle from a lazy project manager's point of view, and then thick again at the far end. And really, that is the shape of the book as I take people through that journey from the thick front end to the thick far end, and the middle section where it's all about the project team being efficient and the project manager being where they need to be at any given time.
I find that really counterintuitive, because when we look at S-curves for how money is spent on a project, for example, we all know that the middle part is where most of the money gets spent. It's when things are moving the fastest, and you would think that would be the critical part in which the project management should be working harder. So how do you address that?
Well, it is the critical part, and it's no doubt, and it is the part when everybody's busy and there's a lot going on. And one of the keys that I've seen project managers struggle and fail is they get so involved in the detail of too distracted that when something occurs on the project that they need or should be focusing their effort on, they're not available to do that because they're locked away in a meeting, or they're busy doing something else, or they're getting their hands dirty, coding or something ridiculous like that. So you're absolutely right. But at this middle part, if the foundations are done correctly, if that thick front end is put together properly, the overall project team should be working effectively and efficiently at this point in time. And therefore, the task of a project manager is to move with that project, is to interact with people, make sure things are on track, or to interface, to encourage, buy the beer, buy the pizza, all that sort of good stuff. And to be ready to move to the point of the project that needs it. So when a problem occurs over here, the project manager has the time and the flexibility to focus and deal with that issue and make decisions. Something happens over on the other side of the project in another project team, they can move quickly over there. So it's not that they're not working hard. It's not that they're not involved in the project, and it's certainly not that they. I joke about sitting in the comfy chair. It's certainly not that. They're not removed from the project. They are just focused in the right way and flexible enough to react to what the project needs.
Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about that thick beginning there, the initial part. How can the project manager be proactive enough so that everything is set up in a way that they can actually do less work in the middle part?
Yeah, so the sort of key areas. I talk about getting ahead of the game. It's that point in time when you become project manager, and some organisations you run projects with the same people or same teams. Some organisations it's brand new people or a mixture. It doesn't really matter. And sometimes you haven't finished the last project before you start your next project. The point about this is always look at this as, well, this is a new project, this is a new opportunity, and I'm going to try and stamp my authority and discipline on the project because this is the way I want it to run. I want it to manage this way. I want everybody to understand that we're going to adhere to this process, this methodology, and the project is going to be successful this time, absolutely, and it's going to be a success because we're going to work together as a team. We're going to work in this way, and this is where we're going. So it's all about the project manager shaping the potential success from that point forward. And there's also areas of working, I talk a lot about working effectively with your project sponsor. I talk about controlling the expectation of change that's going to take place on the project, and a whole bunch about communication. Communication is a huge area for project managers to work in. I mean, it depends what you read, but 70, 80, 90% of your time is spent communicating. So what a great way to be very effective when it comes to communication, and not lazy in a bad way. Do think about the way you're communicating with people and find the very most appropriate way to be successful in that communication. That's all kind of the areas of foundational success for the project.
Good. Yeah, no, that makes sense. So, and you cover all this in your Lazy Project Manager book, which I read. It's great read, and I'll put a link on the show notes for this episode for if people are interested in the book. But you also have another book called The Lazy Winner. What is that one about?
Right. Yes, The Lazy Winner. Well, when The Lazy Project Manager was a bit of a success, I was delighted when my publishers came to me and said, well, half of what you talk about is applicable to people who aren't in project management. And equally, some people in the world of project management said, well, thanks for the book, The Lazy Project Manager. We love that, but can you tell us more? So, from this was The Lazy Winner, which has a subtitle of How to Do More with Less Effort and Succeed in Your Work and Personal Life Without Rushing Around Like a Headless Chicken or putting in 100-hour weeks. And this is all about ways to change the way you behave. It starts off, with some questions, questions you should always ask yourself before you get involved in something. And these sort of questions around, do I want to do it? Do I need to do this? Is it worthwhile? Do I have to do it myself? What is the shortest path to success? What is the shortest path to success? And how can I maximize the return on my personal effort and things like that? And in the book, you can follow a character called Nigel, because Nigel is both reading the book at the same time as the other readers, but also applying what he's read in the book. And you hear the way Nigel has a little bit of a challenge in his life, his work-life balance, and how he makes some changes. And it's a kind of a dip in and out, have a look at it, and apply some of the principles and ideas in there, and it should make some positive impact on your life.
That is so cool, and this is exactly the spirit that I hope to achieve here with the PM for the Masses podcast, which is this looking at the project manager as not just as a professional, but as an entity that has a personal life and professional life, and how to manage that line, right? That between the personal and the professional, and really seeing that everything is the same. And the way I put it, like, you can't be managing projects for other people if your own personal life is a mess,
Absolutely. Project managers are people, after all. Yes,
that's right.
Despite what you might read somewhere.
Very good. And you have told me that you are willing to give away a copy of the Lazy Winner to one listener here.
A signed copy of the Lazy Winner can be shipped out to a winner. So absolutely happy to do that.
All right. So the way to find out, we haven't decided exactly yet how I'm going to give this away, but if you go, for the listeners, if you go to pmforthemasses.com/1, number 1 for episode 1, you'll find the episode notes there, and there's going to be some instructions there, what you have to do to enter to win. And I'm going to be entering to win too, even though I don't think I'm eligible. No, I'll just buy it. I'm not that lazy. Okay. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about here on this show, and that's why I think another reason why you're the perfect guest to be on the first episode, is what I call the 5 questions. Okay. And this is where we go beyond project management itself. And we talk to guys like you who are project managers who actually broke through and became a famous or a celebrity in the world of project management in a way that people know you. Okay. And I want to encourage people to take similar steps, like myself, for example. I now have a podcast, people who are listening to me for the first time now, they're learning a little bit about who I am, and that's a positive thing for me. So here are the 5. Well, let's start with the first one, the reason. So what made you start being more, let's say, out there and becoming a well-known project manager outside of your place of employment?
Okay, so the end goal wasn't necessarily to become a well-known project manager, but it was driven around what else would I like to do in life. So, I'd been project manager for many years, headed up some PMOs as well. That was great. I kind of set myself the challenge to do more speaking, and I really enjoy doing sort of keynote presentations. And one of the pieces of advice that I was given was it really is powerful to have a book as well, because it's one of the best business cards in the world. And so I went around and I searched for a publisher for this kind of general idea I had of the lazy project manager, and I found a publisher. And publishers were, they're cautious people, and so the end result of this was, in all honesty, was a bit more of a sort of a commercially driven one, because I went into a kind of a shared risk model with the publishers of the Lazy Project Manager, which basically meant when the book came out, I gave them some money, and my garage ended up with about 1,000 copies of the Lazy Project Manager sitting in it. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you what, I'm really glad that happened, because I suddenly realized, as my wife stared at me in the way that only wives can, saying, when are we getting the children's inheritance back? I thought, well, I got to get rid of these books somehow. It's fantastic. I'm a published author, but I'm a published author with an awful lot of copies. So I started speaking at events, and I started selling the book online, and I realized I have a bit of a marketing background as well. I realized I needed to get out there effectively, as you say, to let people know about me. So I tried every possible way I could. I did a lot of work on with the podcast I've got. I did work on blogs and articles and speaking, voluntary speaking, eventually paid speaking. I contributed to other people's discussions. I was active on LinkedIn and on Twitter. I did all those sort of things, and gradually, very quickly actually, I was very pleased to see all those books disappear, and in fact I ordered some more. But really, it was kind of that combination of, I want to try and do something, which was to speak more and actually write a book. And secondly, the sort of commercial realities of, I've written a book and I need to get my money back now. So that's kind of what started the whole thing off.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. And here's the thing. I think a lot of people understand that if they had 1,000 books that they wrote in their garage, they would probably do something similar, especially if their wives are on their case. But I think the main obstacle here is actually sitting down and writing that book. So, which takes me to question number 2. The question is, what steps did you take to start becoming the PM celebrity that you are today? But I think for you, it is, how did you find the time and the encouragement to write this book?
So the time was slightly opportune, I guess, in a sense. So this book came out in 2009, which was really the sort of the dark days of the depression that we had. So at that point, I was the head of a PMO, and I was covering the whole of Europe. So I spent a lot of time traveling. Now suddenly, traveling was cancelled. I didn't go anywhere. So suddenly I had all that time you spend getting to airports, sitting in airports, sitting on planes, getting off planes, etc. I suddenly had available to me. So that was a plus. And secondly, I had actually sort of done a lot of work in structuring the ideas. So I did actually do it relatively quickly. I focused and concentrated and got on with it. And, my family supported me in that one, and they recognized that, Dad was locked away in his office, and he would probably be grumpy if you went in and opened the door and talked to him. But I concentrated it all into a very short period of time for the first first production of the first manuscript.
Did you write an outline and then fleshed it out, or you just did a brain dump?
No, the way I work is, in this case, I already had a structure which was built from the website, thelazyprojectmanager.com. But then the way I generally write these sort of books is I'm constantly filing things away all the time. I use a little folder structure when I have book ideas, and I slot things away, articles, ideas, jokes, comments, anything goes in there. And when I come to write the book, all four walls of my office are covered in printouts and post-it notes and on flip chart paper and stuff like that. And basically, as long as I've got the basic structure of the book, I start to consume material from the walls. So the time I finish the book, everything is either in the book or in the bin, or put back in another folder for another day. So that's the kind of creative way I work particularly for the lazy books.
Mm-hmm. So you did have a website before you wrote the book?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was my first step. So basically, I had the idea, then I built the website, and then I went out there and secured the book deal.
Okay, so it was the first was the book idea, and that's why you started the website to kind of start putting the word out there.
Well, it was kind of like the next safe step, really. I have this idea, and I talked to a couple of people at work, and they didn't laugh, and then I told my family, and they didn't laugh very much that I was going to write a book. So I thought, well, I need to validate this with a few more people, and so the website seemed to the next safest jumping off point, if you like, for getting comments and thoughts from people.
Very good. Now, question number 3, personal productivity. And this is something that I'm passionate about. I'm always trying to find new and more productive ways to do things. Mm-hmm. So what's your number one tool or technique that you use to stay on top of your projects, both the projects that you manage for others and your own personal projects?
I think it would come back to it's kind of like the focus. Effectively, it is that we talked earlier on about what's the most important things and that kind of resorting and refiltering. I do an awful lot of that, and it really helps me because one, it helps me not miss anything, hopefully, and secondly, it helps me manage many activities at the same time. So I'm constantly on the go. I mean, at the moment, I did a quick assessment of the landscape that's in front of me for the rest of this year, and there are 5 books in process in various stages of writing and publication. There's about 20 speaking engagements, 10 workshops, and 2 new workshop materials to be developed, along with everything else that goes on. So there's a lot happening all the time, and I think this ability to step back and reflect and reconsider and reprioritize is very important. And secondly, it's to operate with this non-capacity type model. So I try not to be 100% committed at any given time. I mean, there are short periods of time, when I'm going to an event, when I'm speaking or running a workshop, you kind of have to be locked away. But generally speaking, try not to operate at 100% capacity because you don't have any flexibility for when the unexpected comes in, or you do have to deal with an emergency perhaps, or someone wants to accelerate or bring something up to a more urgent status. You don't have the capability of doing that. So the other thing about not being 100% capacity is you don't have to say no to great opportunities. Like when you contacted me and said you'd like to do an interview like this, the worst, as far as I'm concerned, would be, well, I'd love to do it, but I'm fully booked for the next 6 months, and you probably got away and maybe not talk to me again. So you miss out on those great opportunities if you fill all your time permanently.
Yeah, I was impressed at how fast you replied to my emails. I said, wow, he's really in his comfy chair right now with his iPad or something. I'm pretty responsive on emails. And one of the tips I got, I talk a lot about in the Lazy Project Manager about email is, I really try and deal with emails quickly so that they don't clog up my Outlook, which I use. And if I have a thing in the book which I say, if you have to scroll, you lost control, which means if you've got more, to me, if I got more than 20 emails unactioned, unresponded to, then I feel personally overwhelmed. So I just have to crack on with that and deal with things, because I feel that pressure otherwise. This like, I feel like we could like hold hands and skip down the lane together. This is exactly how I feel. If my email inbox is like, at the most I have like 10 emails there. When I have 15, 20, it's because I had a busy morning and I couldn't get to it. But they need to go away, man. They need to go away fast. Like either process it or reply right away. because, as you said, it's just overwhelming. But you mentioned not being at full capacity, with your time. What do you think of this? And I always like the analogy between time and money, and the secret of wealth, which is, having money, is to live beyond, not live beyond your means, basically spend less than what you make.
Yep.
And also you talked about having the free time to actually deal with issues and emergencies, which is the equivalent of having an emergency fund in the bank, if something unexpected happened. What do you think of that? Is that a good analogy?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good analogy. It's you're basically de-risking everything as far as that's concerned. The unexpected happens, you've got a way of dealing with it. And in my word, it's basically time. It is either an opportunity or an issue occurs. Well, okay, I've got the time and I can deal with this, and it's not immediately going to impact everything else that I was planning to do today or whatever, because I left myself that gap, if you like, in my capacity.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Now, question number 4, networking. Everybody wants to know how to network better. In your opinion, what's the best way to network with people? I
think the first thing I say is I've just been astonished as I began this journey that the people that I recognised in our industry in project management and beyond these days, but certainly in project management, I was amazed at the ease at which they were willing to be connected to me and willing to share their knowledge and experience. I just don't think I've been rejected in any way in questions I've asked. So, fundamentally, definitely get out there and network and do the effort, put the effort in. Now, how do I network with people? Well, in a number of ways. I mean, I am a big fan of LinkedIn. So any listeners who want to connect to me on LinkedIn, I will gladly accept. I think it's a great tool if you use it properly. I use Twitter as well. I don't use Facebook because that's more of a personal tool, I feel. But when I go to events, when I speak at events, I always encourage people to connect to me. You get business cards and you connect to people, and the first thing you try and do is just try and offer people something. If I can help you, then if I can support you in any way, it's kind of giving before you start asking to receive stuff. Ideally, sometimes it doesn't work that way, and sometimes I ask for things, and people are really good. I think the other thing is that people shouldn't be afraid of reaching out to people. I mean, there's this whole concept of the sort of relationship of 6, which is something I talk about actually in the Lazy Winner. It's the fact that we are very closely connected to so many people. This is concept of degree of separation that you can go out there and through myself talking to yourself, you talking to someone else, connecting to someone else. I can quickly reach pretty much anybody in the world of project management, for example. And the second thing is that by networking and connecting people, you're really gaining huge ability to improve your skills and your knowledge, and these people, a lot of these people can be great influences on your life.
Yeah, you never know. You
never know. Absolutely, you never know.
Yeah, okay.
But be prepared to give as well as ask as well.
And I think that's the thing too. That's really the heart of the matter is not be a taker but a giver. I find that, especially like networking events, somebody comes to you with their business card. First thing they do is they give you their business card, well, who are you? I like to actually engage in conversation first and see, okay, offer some, some, not advice, but, just see what they're about and offer my thoughts, and so they kind of know who I am a little bit and see maybe it can help them, and then they'll ask for the business card.
Yes. Yeah, that's good advice.
Yeah. Now, in your case too, it helps because you are a well-known person within the world of project management. So, which takes me to my question number 5, which is your final tip here. For PMs who want to become well-known like you are, what's your best tip for people to start maybe not replicating what you've done, but taking similar steps?
I think there's a couple of ways people can do this. I mean, they can just, well-known, famous. I mean, first of all, what circles we're talking about. One, become active outside of your project's inside your own organization, for example. That's the first thing. And you could do that through, various organizations have run various meetings, etc. You can become very active in that sort of community, and you can also share your skills with organizations outside of project management as such. In the community, etc. They're always looking for support and guidance, and I found them very, very positive about the skills that we have as project managers when offered in the right way. I think beyond that, I think my favorite is writing. And you don't have to start with a book. You can literally and very simply blog, create a very simple blog these days. There are so many tools out there you can do it with, or even contributing to conversations on other people's blogs or LinkedIn group discussions, etc. And gradually, I think you'll connect to people, and you'll get to know people, and you'll become a little bit more well known. I mean, from my point of view, certainly the book has been the biggest lever as far as that's concerned. The Lazy Project Manager has really helped lift my profile around the world, and I'm very grateful for that. But I've also put a lot of effort into connecting, involving in good discussions with people, doing a lot of free stuff as well, speaking at events, contributing material. We even had the book free for a period of time, for example, in the early days, and that really helped ride the the levels of people who were beginning to talk about the book. So I think that's a great way. And speaking, of course, I mean, if you feel confident enough to go and speak again, local organizations, local chapter meetings or whatever, that's a great way to become accustomed to that and to get a little bit more well known.
Very good. Now, Peter, if people want to learn more about you and what you do, where should they go?
Well, there are a number of websites, but the main one is www.thelazyprojectmanager.com, and all of my contact information is on there. Or they can send me an invitation on LinkedIn. I will accept, and you can see all my profile and stuff, etc. Out there. And I'm happy to talk to anybody who's interested in speaking, workshops, PMO coaching, all that sort of good stuff, or written material. So, I'd love for as many of your listeners as possible to connect to me.
Very good. This is a fascinating conversation, Peter. Thank you so much. This was Peter Taylor, the Lazy Project Manager. Thank you so much for being on the show, and I might give you a call again later so we can talk about a new book that you're writing, because I know you're writing 5. So
yeah, that's right. I'm happy to do that. So thank you very much, and be lazy.
PM for the Masses podcast.
Wow, I really hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did. Peter is an awesome guy, and I would love to help him give away a signed copy of his book. And the way to enter to win is as follows, okay? Take a listen to this episode and episode 2, which should be out already. And I want you to tell me what you'd like about the show so far. Okay, I really need feedback at this point, and in a very specific way. So I'm already asking for a favor. It's only episode 1. But the way to do that right now is to leave a review and a rating for the show in iTunes. I really want to increase the visibility for the show at this, first weeks, and the best way for it to happen is for people to leave reviews in iTunes, telling me what you think about the show. So I will choose one of the reviewers at random to win the book, and I will personally put you in touch with Peter Taylor so he can sign the copy and mail it to you. Okay, the way to leave me a review in iTunes is by going to pmforthemasses.com/iTunes. Okay, simple. pmforthemasses.com/iTunes. And when you do so, when you do leave me the review, please mention what it is that you like about the show so far. Okay, the review should not be about this episode or about the book giveaway. The review is to help other people who come across the listing in iTunes, to help them make a decision whether or not to subscribe to the podcast. So please keep that in mind. I think you get the gist here. So I'd really appreciate it if you would do that, and be honest. If you like it, you can say it. If you don't like it, you can say it too. And again, all the links that we mentioned during the interview, and also the link to the iTunes page, will be on the show notes for this episode, which you can find at pmforthemasses.com/1, number 1, okay, for episode 1. And I will announce the winner in a few weeks. So good luck. Well, everyone, this is it for the first episode of the PM for the Masses podcast. I hope this was enough to give you a taste of what's to come. And I hope that you're as excited as I am. I don't think it's possible, but I really hope that you are at least a little bit excited about the upcoming episodes. So keep doing great work and start thinking about where you want to be in your career, in your life, and try to use some of the things that we talked about here today with Peter to help you accomplish that. And that's it. I will talk to you next time. And until then, remember that life is a project and you are the manager. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you for listening to the PM for the Masses podcast.
Tune in next week for more great ideas on how to manage your projects better and truly stand out in your industry.
PMforthemasses.com